Hello everyone, I'm Mami at NEWTips piano series. I want to give the top 5 piano tips today, and that is tip number 1, fingering. Number 2, fingering. Number 3, fingering. Number 4, pencil. Number 5, rubber or eraser. So I have already given you the answer to the question in the title of this video, but I want to share some fingering tips today. I have done a fair amount of online teaching during the pandemic, and dodgy fingerings are more difficult to spot online than when you're teaching face to face and you can see right in front of you. But if something is sounding awkward, then it is always down to the fingering, and I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that. When people lose fluency and slow down inadvertently in a passage, it's often to do with twisting about the hand unnecessarily at the beginning of a passage. So this takes longer than I go for the simpler fingering. Or in Beethoven's Opus 109, there's this passage. What's suggested on the score is this by the editor, which is a terrible fingering. It's much easier and stronger to go, rather than twisting, at the start of something. So in today's video, I want to show you the kind of fingering patterns that I like. Good fingerings can save you years of practice, so it makes sense to take time right at the beginning of learning a piece to have the fingering sorted out. I like the kind of fingerings when you have the thumbs of both hands playing at the same time when they call each side, because that gives a great sense of security and anchor. For instance, the solo entry of Beethoven Piano Concerto No. 3, you have the C minor scale going up, and we were taught to do this fingering to play a scale as a kid. For this passage, it's much stronger to start with the fourth finger in the left hand so that the thumbs call inside. It's much stronger that way, and it's on the beat as well. So when deciding fingerings, do think of the right hand and the left hand as working together as one unit rather than working out the fingering for each hand separately. When it happens, when the thumbs are playing together at the same time, or it could be the other fingers, like the second fingers together or the third fingers together, I put a great circle around the finger numbers as a point of reference for memorization and call it out. There are many YouTube clips about Japanese train conductors, and they have this procedure, safety procedure called pointing and calling, where they point out obvious details and calling it aloud, and then that reduces the rate of errors by 85% and reduce accidents by 35% apparently. In your practice sessions, you can make things more memorable to yourself by writing down important details and calling it out, such as key, what kind of chord, fingering at the key moment, calling it out the finger numbers. One thing you need to be aware of is that a good, secure fingering is not always the most beautiful. I said I like the thumbs together fingerings, but it could give unwanted accents. Like many things in life, when considering fingerings, we must get the balance between security and beauty. I'm all for redistributing between the hands if it makes life easier, but easier is not always more beautiful. Suppose you have a long arpeggio to play, and you might decide dividing between the hands makes it easier, like or. But you might say doing it in one hand makes more fluid and beautiful sound. Compare that with you might say that's more interesting sound. What do you think? This is another example from Beethoven's third concerto. I remember John Perry telling me to play this passage. It's normally played like this, but he insisted on taking that in one hand because this creates ugly accents, like, which he didn't like, and he said doing it in one hand you will create more luminous sound. But it's more difficult, and do you go for beautiful and dangerous or safe and ugly? Schnabel apparently said safety last. It's a dangerous way to live or to perform. The choice is yours, but we must remember that deciding fingering is about choosing the sound. I had a question from Fusa, who asked, should we follow the printed fingerings? And the answer is, Fingering is personal and there isn't just one way of doing it. The inconsistency of fingering is number one culprit in making mistakes, so make a decision and erase the old fingering and write the new fingering down in your score. Don't overtax the brain by having several possible fingerings. To summarize, number 1, if something is difficult, always question the fingering. Number 2, for more fluent playing, avoid twisting the hand at the beginning of a passage. Number 3, calling out important points during practice, like a Japanese train conductor. Number 4, go for thumbs together for security. Number 5, get the balance between beauty and security. Number 6, deciding fingering is choosing the sound. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, please subscribe to my channel. And I will see you next time. Bye!